Hey y'all, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to Widow Wit and Wisdom. Today I thought we would discuss the holidays as they are fast approaching. I think the holidays can be tough for not only people who've lost their spouse, but just anyone grieving or feeling lonely. I know for me, that actually kind of started before Jeff died. At the holidays, we were already empty nesters. And so we still did the big family gatherings and whatnot, but it was more centered around like what everybody else was doing. We were going to go to them. And so when you have to walk into the holidays alone without your person or grieving a person that had always brought so much joy for you to the holidays. It can be kind of tough to navigate. In fact, sometimes I refer to the holidays as hell days occasionally because that's what it can feel like. You're trying to be excited and happy and feel the joy, but it also feels kind of suffocating and like it's stabbing you with all the memories and just so many feelings and emotions. And so it can be tough to walk into the holidays excited and be like, I'm going to, make so many new memories this year. And especially as a widow, one of the big things I've learned is I have to be there to make those memories because at some point, memories are all anyone's going to have left of me. And if I just continue to sit here and isolate and allow myself to feel bad, I'm not going to be part of any of those memories. That's all they're going to remember of me. So I had to work my way through that, and getting through the holidays in particular, it can feel like a arthritis flare up kind of grief because you do have like a little more loneliness, a little more just emotion and feeling, and having those happy, excited moments and then kind of feeling bad, like, oh, I wish he were here for this, and feeling bad that he's not here for it. So navigating the holidays can be a bit like navigating a minefield, like a totally unmarked minefield. You never know what's going to hit you and when and how to deal with it. So I thought in this episode, we would kind of discuss a little bit about the holidays and how to navigate them when you're grieving a loss, but especially what it can feel like for a widow. So we are quickly sliding into yet another holiday season. I'm actually kind of excited about it this year. I'm going into it feeling pretty good and pretty strong. But let me tell you, it has not always been that way. I have been doing this now. This will be my 8th Thanksgiving, quickly followed by the 8th anniversary of his death. Actually, it'll be the next day this year. And then 4 weeks later, of course, Christmas. So my 9th Christmas without Jeff. So I've been doing this a while, and I've learned a lot along the way about navigating this minefield of the holidays because there are just so many big feelings and emotions. I mean, the holidays just in general are a time where I think we all just naturally, there is an air of generosity and joy and excitement in the air. Now, it can also, on the flip side of that, especially if you're hosting the event, be very stressful and, anxiety riddled. But having my person to share that with always made the holidays so easy to navigate. I knew Jeff was always like had my back. He was going to help me in the kitchen or set up chairs or fix the deck so Aunt Hilda doesn't get drunk and fall off and, things like that. But all of a sudden, that was on me. If I was going to have a gathering, I was going to have to figure out how to cook the turkey, which that was, again, always him. And so the holidays were kind of like a big, like, oh no, dread moment. And I didn't want to feel that. I wanted to feel the excitement and the joy that everyone else was feeling. But I know like that first year going into stores and seeing Christmas trees and hearing Christmas music was jarring for me. Now, mind you, I was only 4 weeks in, so I didn't even realize it was Christmas season. I wasn't getting out much. So when I did, it was jarring. It literally felt like it hurt my body. And I just wanted to go back home and get away from it because I was definitely not feeling any kind of joy or happiness at that point. So my second Christmas without him and holiday season, it was my first Thanksgiving without him, but my second Christmas without Jeff actually was harder for me because I did not have that number one excuse to not show up. It was, it'd been a whole year. You're supposed to feel better. You have to make these decisions and do family things if you're going to keep connections. And I found I expected to feel better during the holiday season actually that year, and then I didn't. I felt so much worse. I was inundated with the memories of wanting to make these happy memories, but feeling like I couldn't. Just, I still wasn't really in a good place yet. And being around the groups of people still felt like the empty seat next to me. Telling stories around the fire pit didn't feel right because what if I tell, like a funny story about Jeff and, make someone uncomfortable or sad or, and then everybody gets quiet and they're like, oh, aren't you a Debbie Downer? And then you don't get invited back in subsequent years. I mean, these things happen when you're a widow. This is the feelings of especially the early years of Christmas and just the whole holiday season. Thanksgiving in particular was tough. Like when you sit around that Thanksgiving table and you know how everybody always does, let's share what you're thankful for this year. Oh my gosh, especially in the early years, I hated to be chosen. Like I would almost do anything. Like I would slide under the table. I would drop my napkin to try to go unnoticed so that I would get skipped. And they never would skip me. And I would try to go, hey, just glad to be here. And then, that you always have the family member or the friend that's going to push you. Please just don't let me get away with, I'm just glad to be here because honestly, I was just glad to be there. So there's just a lot of that. I don't want to be in the spotlight when I'm already having these heightened emotions. And so I hated that question. Now, if you ask me that same question, sitting around the Thanksgiving table, what are you grateful for? You probably don't want to pick me because the list is so incredibly long that that's going to turn into an hour-long speech and your turkey's going to get cold. So again, you still don't want to choose me. Even now, going on my 8th Thanksgiving without him for that question. But the holidays, again, I mean, it's a tough road to navigate for, again, anybody dealing with any kind of, stress or anxiety, because there is that anxiety of walking into a room alone as a widow. I always had Jeff to, right before you walk in the door and ring the bell, you give each other that knowing look here we go, what's going to happen this time? And then on the way home, you get to rehash the whole thing, the joys, the excitements, the funny stuff. And all of a sudden it was I'm walking in that door alone and I felt like a spotlight that I did not want was on me. I felt a very sincere, absence of his presence in every room. And I, again, did not feel like I could talk about him or even, laugh or share happy memories. And so when other people are sitting there talking about, all the stuff they've done and, what they and their spouse are doing, it can get uncomfortable. Now, I don't want other people to not share that at all. But for me, it just felt gosh, I miss that or I wish I had that. And it would bring up memories, which would then, of course, at that time, cause me to not ugly cry or anything, but there would be a little tear. But then when people notice that, they think that, you're getting emotional and they need to stop. And it was just too many feelings. So I really got to where I just, when the invitations would come, I would just be like, oh, I can't make it. Sorry. And just sort of stop going. Well, throughout the years, the invitations stopped coming, or you had one too many awkward moments and you don't get invited. That happens too. Or worse, during the holidays, you get kind of the mercy invites, and that's actually not a bad thing. I know a lot of people view the mercy invites as a bad thing. I hated them in the beginning. I have come to truly appreciate the mercy invites because I've accepted several and they have always turned out to be some of the best holiday events or parties that I've gone to where I've really either learned something or I've taken something really awesome away from it and been able to make yet another great memory. And so don't overlook those mercy invites. They do kind of in the early years, they hurt because it's well, it's obvious that, I don't have anybody to spend this holiday with, because I know for me as a widow, Jeff and I were already empty nesters. So when he died, who was I going to spend the holidays with? My boys both had their lives and it became well, I don't want to bother anybody. And having the ability to do that as a widow was very easy. And it was easy to fall into that pattern. And again, I just didn't like it. I love the holidays. I've always loved the holidays. They've always been a big deal. And I still wanted to make these beautiful holiday memories, but it did kind of hurt. So I had to find a way to where I could still do that, because if grief has taught me one valuable lesson, it is this: we only have the memories at some point. If you want people to remember you, you have to show up first. And that can be really hard to continue to show up, because you're not the same person that you were. I'm not going to walk into those holiday parties, with 2 bottles of whiskey and go, woo, let's whoop it up. Well, actually, I might now. But in those early years, I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to be in that place. Now I probably would be. Getting to that point can be tough. Dealing with the just general awkwardness and anxiety. Everybody at the holidays in that room is feeling anxiety of some sort. One person may be going, oh, or is someone judging my outfit? And, I may be walking in going, is someone judging my grief? And you may walk in and be like, somebody's judging my cupcakes. And so the holidays do come with the joy, but they also come with anxiety for literally everyone. Now, I do know as a widow that is obviously exacerbated for us that are grieving someone, because it is harder to find the joy and excitement. I know for me, Jeff was a huge part of that holiday joy and excitement. We loved the big family gatherings, loved them, always either held them or went to them. It didn't matter if it was my family, his family, both families. I mean, we just always had huge family gatherings. And so we made so many happy memories together at those with people that we loved. And I am so grateful now as a widow that I have those memories with Jeff. But I'm also very aware of the fact that if my children are going to have memories of me outside of those and continue to have memories of me, I need to be part of those holidays. And so I had to really learn to be able to work through that. Like, I did not want to feel that stab of anxiety every time I walked into Target and saw a Christmas tree, or, every time I walked in the grocery store and heard a holiday song, I didn't want to cry about it. So I had to be able to really figure out how to deal with this holiday grief and anxiety, because I was very easily just going, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just going to isolate, pick up my groceries at the curb, don't call family or friends, like just wish them a Merry Christmas, but pretend it's not all happening. That became very easy. But again, I am the kind of person that I value the memories. I know what they mean. And I just didn't want that to stop. And so I had to work on it. I knew I had to show up and had to be there. And I didn't want to just always show up as like, the awkward, quiet one in the corner trying not to be seen. So I had to figure out how to be okay with it, to know that, yes, I am going to miss Jeff during the holidays. I am going to want him here. I am going to want Jeff to see him, see our grandbaby open his Christmas presents. I'm going to want Jeff's help to pick said Christmas presents, not having that input of my partner on what to buy and what to bring. It's harder trying to, if I'm hosting something out here, if the kids are all coming, oh my gosh, I have to figure out how to cook the turkey. Like I never do that. Like that was always Jeff's job. So it just kind of got overwhelming, and that added to my loneliness a lot. Like I just missed him more, and it could really get down on me in those early years, like that missing him and longing for him. It added a lot of weight. These days when I miss him and I long for him in the holidays, it's more in a happy way. I do remember all those happy memories, but I also remember that I have got to take these holiday chances, these opportunities to go to these things and see these people that you don't get to see all the time, and to show up and do it and be present and make new memories, because that is all that is going to be left. That's it. In the end, all I have of Jeff is those beautiful, happy memories. And I'm so very grateful that I had them. And when I really looked at that and I went, oh my gosh, like I've got to keep making these memories, It helped. It really helped me again feel the joy in the holidays. It wasn't that he's missing or he's not there. It's that now I get to celebrate this for both of us. And it's funny to me how around the holiday season, I get a lot of signs and little things from Jeff. Like I'll be out shopping for the grandbaby's Christmas present or whatever. And I'll really kind of be missing him. And it's kind of like, oh, I really wish you were here for some input on this one. And all of a sudden, I will walk down some random aisle in a near panic because I'm in a store in the first place. And like this toy will pop up and it will be something that will just hit me and go, that's the one. That's Jeff. This is yes on from both of us. And so far, that's kind of how the holidays have gone when I've really gotten to the point where, again, where I can be like excited about it and not have that stabbing pain, where the memories finally feel happy again and better. And the grief kind of steps aside. It's there. Yes, the hole is still there, but so am I. And I've got to show up and be there. And I want to make those holiday memories. And so I am, trying to make more of an effort, especially since I have a grandbaby, because I don't want to miss anything. He is so cute. And again, it's like at the holiday time, doing things with my dad is super important to me as well. My mom passed several years ago and my dad is 83, still doing just fine. But doing holiday stuff with him is super important to me because I know once again that those memories are all I'm going to have left. And at the holidays, I actually have an opportunity to con him to get off the farm because it is again, more of that festive, cheerful, joyful, excited, this is when we do these things moment. And so I've had to really, buckle in and take that to heart that yes, my grief is there during the holidays. It's never going to go away. I'm always going to long for him to be there. My heart is always going to hurt that he's not, but I am so very, very excited and blessed and grateful just to have another Thanksgiving, to have another Christmas, to have another reason to be with these people that I love. And we may, don't get me wrong, the holidays do still come with that, like, okay, walking in the room alone. And that one especially is hard to overcome, but it took me really figuring out who I am to be okay with walking into that room alone for the holidays. It took me saying, I can do this. Like I am who I am and whatever's going to happen is going to happen and I'm going to be okay with it no matter what. I'm walking out of this room at this holiday event the same person I walked in as. Now I cannot say the same for maybe the others after, a few drinks, but the holidays just are, a time of year when the memories can be so important, so beautiful, so exciting, and something you just really want to hang on to. Now, again, not being comfortable with talking about Jeff or sharing the happy memories, that you kind of have to be able to read the room on. I at this point, I love sharing all the happy memories, the things that we did, because we did some great stuff together. We made some amazing holiday memories. We had some great holidays, man. Why wouldn't I want to talk about that, right? But not feeling like you can share those without having other people become uncomfortable, it adds to the weight. And so I kind of have to read the room on that one. Like, yes, I will share that story, but it's usually always, like a funny story. And there will always be moments during any social event, but especially family gatherings, where someone is going to say something inappropriate or awkward. I mean, that is just the nature of Thanksgiving and Christmas, the holidays, parties. Someone's going to say something awkward. And as a widow, being able to deal with that without like throwing my drink in someone's face at the holiday party when they said something that like really rubbed me the wrong way. That takes, again, a lot of just like assess the situation and be okay with where I am and knowing that, yes, people are going to say things that are going to make me uncomfortable. I'm going to say things that are going to make them uncomfortable, but it's going to be okay. And I will deal with the fallout. I am choosing to just stay true to who I am. So there's not going to be a whole lot of fallout. But the holidays, again, it's just such a time of added stress and anxiety and loneliness for a lot of people, and also joy and excitement. And feeling that joy and excitement can also feel like anxiety and stress because you'll want to feel the joy and excitement, but you don't quite feel it. But yet you do, but then it makes you feel bad that you felt it. So it can just bring on way too much. And if you are in those early years, that overwhelm can just like take you out. It will knock you on your knees. And unfortunately, it usually does it at inconvenient times and places. I know that has been a problem for me, but throughout the years, it really has gotten so much easier to deal with it. You get to the point where, yeah, okay, sometimes the invitations don't come, but it doesn't hurt as bad because you're like, yeah, like it's okay. I don't mind that. So throughout my last few years, especially of getting through the holidays as a widow and also empty nester because my boys are both grown and flown, which of course adds even more stuff. If or any empty nesters out there, you kind of get it. The loneliness just sort of adds up. So I had to figure out again a way to process my way through this overwhelm of the holidays. I needed a way to process it quickly and to have kind of a game plan in place on how I was going to deal with this. And so when I really started looking at it, I do have actually like a sort of a process that I do. Getting through the holidays for me requires a lot of grace. I have to give myself a lot of grace as well as extend it to a lot of others, which can be difficult at times, especially during family functions. And boundaries, but especially boundaries with myself. Like, okay, how are we going into this? Like what, party or a family gathering or a Thanksgiving dinner? What are my boundaries with myself? What am I allowed to feel today at this moment? Or can I wait until in the car kind of thing? Like I have a game plan going in. And for me, it's not like I'm sitting there wallowing in it. This is sort of like it would have been my conversation on the drive on the way to the party with Jeff. Like, how are we going in? Like, who's going to be there? And this is what fills my head in that space, I guess, on those drives during the holidays is like, how am I going into this? Like, what is going to, like, where am I at? Is there anything I need to process like ahead of time or kind of prepare myself for? And over the years, it's funny how I've noticed there's like a repetitiveness of things that you sort of build up a tolerance to, things that have been said or done or feelings that you've had throughout the holidays, where this time you're kind of prepared for it. And so it just doesn't hit the same or hurt as much. And you're just kind of think to yourself, like, that was insensitive of them, but whatever, like moving on. And it doesn't wreck me anymore. It doesn't send me to the bathroom in tears. But it has taken having those boundaries with myself of I'm not going to feel that, at least not in the moment. I can cry about it later if I still feel it necessary. But in this moment, I just kind of find it funny that like people don't recognize it by now. So it's having those kind of boundaries with myself, and definitely that pregame for me helps get me through the holidays. It kind of always has. In the early years, a lot of times I would just travel to sort of avoid even the conflict of feelings and interests and people of being invited to things. I would just be like, oh, I'm traveling, and I would go make plans just kind of for myself. But again, you want to make these beautiful memories with your family and your friends. And so I got to where I would really pregame. It's sort of about September when our anniversary comes up and I'm really in my feels. I'll be like, oh, here I am. I'm in my feels and, the holidays are coming up. How am I going to be then? And I'll sort of in those days of letting myself kind of give myself the grace and space to feel the feels with our anniversary, I will begin to work through now sort of a game plan of what the holidays may look or feel like this year based on kind of where I'm at with the anniversary. And so getting through the holidays for me starts about then. Like I'm like, okay, the holidays are coming. Yep. There's going to be some feelings probably. And how are we feeling about those feelings? Yeah. And, it's funny because like every year that kind of changes, but being able to sort of thought process that earlier because I recognize now that it's coming and that it's going to feel this way or that, people may say these things, and being able to kind of have that conversation with myself of all these smart ass comments that I want to say or all the sad feelings that I may have and not saying them in the moment. Because again, that grief burnt up my filter along the way. And so if I don't pregame, then it will just come flying out of my mouth. So I kind of have to plan. But I will start kind of reaching out to people in September, my kids especially, because they are both grown men, grown and flown and families of their own. And so I'm the more mobile of the people. So I'll just kind of reach out and be like, hey, what are y'all's holiday plans? Because like I can come wherever, like if y'all have any plans, I'd like to be a part of it. And I can come to you, of course. And so I'll just kind of hit everybody up, see what they're doing. And then based on those responses, I will sometimes still travel if everybody's kind of got, plans with the other people or friends that I don't want to intrude on, then I'll just go ahead and make some other plans for myself. And I am perfectly okay with that. It doesn't sting like it once did. I don't feel like I'm being excluded anymore because I recognize that my kids, again, are adults and people have their own families and friends. And it's not easy to reach out to somebody that might be grieving and ask them to show up with their grief and your joy moment if they have it. Getting those just being able to process through the things that could happen or might happen, but not dwell on them. These days, it's more of like on the drive there. It's sort of the conversation I would have had with Jeff if he were still in the car, like on the drive to the party where you're like, okay, who's going to be there? And, where are we at with these people and those people? And so I kind of have those conversations now in my head on the driver, just sort of with myself or with the dog if he's with me, of how are we going into this? What might happen? And especially if I'm having any big feelings of missing Jeff, I try to get those out again, like before I go. Like I recognize that there's going to be big feelings of missing him. And so that when I do, like when they're opening their presents or, we're cutting the turkey, and yes, I'm missing his laugh and his stupid dad jokes, but it's not taking me out of that beautiful, joyful moment that I'm also in. Instead, it's more like, I miss your stupid dad jokes. And like, I can almost hear you laughing now. Because again, I've just sort of set that boundary with, I'm not going to let it hurt today. I acknowledge that, yes, the pain is there and the longing is there, but I'm not going to let it steal my joy in these holidays. And again, it is a practice. It is a mindset. It is something I have to work on every year, every day, sometimes every minute and every second, to just tell myself, like, I'm okay in this moment and I can deal with the big feelings later. Because in those moments when you are struck with a chord, your only choice is how you get to react to it. The thing happened, and now what are you going to do? And I typically choose to laugh, especially during the holidays. I choose to laugh. And sometimes, especially when people know you're a widow in the early years, that could make people uncomfortable too. So tread lightly with the humor and laughter. But navigating the holidays is very possible with grief, but it is tough. And it takes a lot of grace, both from myself. I have to give myself a lot of grace. I have to give other people a lot of grace and a lot more empathy. And again, at a time where my emotions are already heightened, that can be hard. And so, really kind of pre-thinking all of that out, a week or two before gets that out of my system. And then by the time I get there, I'm fine. I enjoy the moment. Now, don't think that I'm sitting here for like all these months, sitting here thinking about all, like what could happen. It's not like that. It is funny moments that pop in during those months more prior to the holidays, or especially on my drive again to the said holiday, just kind of running through any kind of funny, snarky comment that I might be thinking in my head so that I don't actually say it out loud in response to something that someone might say, ask, or do. I try to get the snark out before. But again, it's just a process of trying your best to find the joy anywhere you can. And yes, it may only last for that couple of hours and you may cry all the way home. That's okay, but at least I had those few hours of joy where the anxiety wasn't bad. And I just allowed myself to be totally present at that holiday gathering and so grateful, truly from my heart, and probably more than anyone else in that room, that I got to be there. Like, the level of gratefulness that you have for these moments that you get to spend with the ones that you love when you're a widow or you've lost someone you love is so powerful. It really is. And if you let that power carry you through the holidays, they can be beautiful. So I hope some of this may resonate with someone along the way through their widow journey, grief journey, or just general holiday journey. So I hope you enjoyed that. My few little wits and wisdoms on the holidays for everyone out there maybe dealing with some grief or sadness or loneliness during the holidays. I hope that it can make your days a little bit brighter. I hope that you can find a process that helps you make new memories. And mostly, just be the light in somebody's day, especially this holiday season when gratitude and love is already abounding. Be a little more graceful, give a little more grace, give a little more space, be more understanding, empathetic, and loving, and just be the light in someone's day. Have a great holiday. So if you have any questions or anything you want to talk about holidays or just grief in general, you can email me at widowwitandwisdom@gmail.com. Please like, follow, subscribe, share, do all the things. You can follow along at YouTube, on all the podcast streaming platforms, as well as catch me over on TikTok at Widow Wit and Wisdom. Hope to see you guys again real soon.